where all the cool cats are. There's a gentleman named Dr. Albert Jose Jones, who is considered the godfather of Black scuba diving. Dr. Jones co-founded the National Association of Black Scuba Divers, and he founded this club of the underwater adventure seekers. So I just really lost why did I say all of this? This was connected to, I got caught into the story.
Why is the study
history
and research?
Yes. Sorry. As I got to know the divers, I started, and the divers are all crazy. Let me say, like that one back there, Jay Hagler, one of the lead instructors with Diving with a Purpose, and a huge figure in the scuba diving world. Crazy, amazing people, and also really generous of spirit. All the people at the underwater adventure seekers don't get a salary, but they are on a mission to train more and more scuba divers. And they do it out of their own time and their own funding. But hanging out with them, I'm coming to the point. So hanging out with them, I started to learn more about this history. And it was a history that I hadn't really thought about, quite honestly. I mean, I knew basics. I went to school. I know some stuff about the past, but I'd always felt like the past was too painful, too traumatic. I was afraid to look back too much. I didn't want to know what my ancestors endured. But as I hung with these divers and started to learn more, certain statistics began to pop out at me and really hit me. And I was like, oh, it is not okay for me to not know this information. Here are two stats that I'd love to share with you because they're the two that really, 1-2 punch. I don't know if you knew this. Again, they're very smart people. And I feel like, I'm sure there's smart people all over. I know there's some smart people on this road right here. So you might know this stat. I didn't know it. I found out that there were approximately 1.8 million people who died in the Middle Passage, in the crossing from Africa to the Americas. 1.8 million people. We're not talking about the number of people who died on the march to the boats, or the number of people who died once they arrived and were enslaved. Just in the Atlantic Ocean, 1.8 million people died. I was like, why don't I know this number? I also found out that there were approximately 12,000 ships that brought Africans to the Americas. It's 12,000 ships. Why, when I was growing up, could I not name one of them? Mm-hmm. But I could tell you about the Mayflower. I could tell you about the Titanic. I can tell you about all these other ships, but I couldn't tell you anything about any of those. And that was not okay. What I realized is that there's so much of this history that's just missing. And so these divers and this work that they're doing felt even more important to me. And I, as a storyteller, could help elevate and amplify those stories and help bring them back into memory. So that's why I think it's all important.
All right. Well, I do want to send a shout out to Underwater Diving. Just to give you an idea, I was also trained by them as an midwife. So they have like a huge impact on training and they do it free, which is also very important. So I do want to do a little shout out as you were shouting them out about the importance of some of these organizations. But in talking about diving, what I really want to talk about is water, the healing property of water, what water represents, the representation, even thinking about where you started and where you went. So when you started was from water as trauma and the kind of the painful story, but where you're at now is kind of a little bit different. I mean, even looking at the title of your book, Written in the Water, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with water and for you personally, and then maybe a little bit about how that also connects to how you're reshaping kind of the narrative of Black experience with water?
Good question, Alex. Well, I have to say that I always loved water. At least I always loved pools. I grew up in Atlanta, which is landlocked. So even though I knew how to swim at an early age and I always loved to be in a pool, I didn't know anything about the ocean. The ocean was a whole other thing. But I wanted to learn how to scuba dive because I loved the water so much. I unfortunately, we couldn't get the audio to work. I wanted to play a couple of clips for you guys of some scenes from the podcast that I did with Nat Geo, and just a little commercial break. The podcast is called Into the Depths, and it is streaming on all audio platforms. It is a 6-episode narrative podcast that tells the story of the journey. I mean, the book tells the story, but if you want to listen to the story and you also want to hear other voices, like you'll hear Ayana's voice in it, you'll hear Jay's voice in it, you can really hear, like, it's a narrative podcast, so you can really hear what it feels like to be on the ocean. And I'm sorry that we couldn't play that for you today. But for me, I'm making this answer long once again.
You're fine. Take your time. We're here for you. Yes, literally.
There's something about scuba diving that is transformative to me. It is one of the most beautiful, peaceful things. I think it is such a meditative thing, because when you're diving, you have to focus on your breath. Like, you can't, be thinking about all the things that are happening at the office and who you're mad at or who didn't do what, or you've got to be present and focus on your breath. And so it is such a meditative thing. Are there, how many people in the audience scuba dive?
We have someone in the audience too.
Okay, how many people snorkel? Okay. How many people just you put your foot in the water when you get there? Okay. This is something Jay always says, that there are 2 kinds of people in the world. There are people who are scuba divers, and there are people who are yet to be scuba divers. So, waiting on you guys. But there's something about the water, the properties of the water. And this is something that I actually learned from Ayana. We had an amazing conversation in St. Croix, and you framed some stuff for me that was a little transformative. And it's included in the book. You will get to read this, but so you know who it is who said all of this. But what you said to me when I asked you, where was home for you? And you said it was in the water, because the water is so fluid. If we could imagine ourselves fluid, changeable, I don't know that I'm going to capture it as well as you said it, but something about just the properties of the water really spoke to me. And I also feel really connected to some of the African goddesses of the water, like Yemaya speaks to me. There's something about just the power, water can be gentle, but it can also be very
Mm.
Yes, very, very forceful. That was a good word. So again, I'm making this answer really long. I just think that the water is beautiful. It's connecting, and our stories are in the water. Like especially these ships that are underneath the waves that sit on the ocean floor. Those are our stories. So they are written in the waters. Our stories are written in the waters.